I've been giving advice my entire adult life. It's how a lot of people discovered me over the years. I've given advice about a lot of things. I'm not an expert in anything apart from being myself. So please couch any advice that I might give with that. It's very important to note. And that's my only area of expertise. Me. So I'm just sharing my thoughts, my opinions, my perspectives. Just take it for whatever it's worth. And hopefully someone gains some amount of insight. And hopefully it helps somebody out there, whoever, not the least of which being the person who might ask for my advice in a comment, or certainly like tonight in a live Twitch stream, because I am streaming live on Twitch every night at 6 p.m. As most of you know, those watching me live on Twitch certainly know that. New Future Tech 3D asked, I'm 41, and I got laid off after working 7 years for the same company. This happened last October due to COVID. I can't find any desire to find a new job. So we're almost dealing with two issues there. Well, I can tell you this. At the age of 47, 48 in 3 more days, I feel that. I feel the weight of that age. And the older you get, yes, the more experience you accrue, and the more tired you are. And I don't just mean physically tired. I mean emotionally drained, because you've been through a lot. And let's face it, no matter what you've done in the past, you've been through a lot. You've been through 41 years. Now, maybe you don't remember, much of early childhood, but you're still 41 years old. That's great. Now, some would say, 40 is the new 50, or 50 is the new 40, or 30s. Don't ever ask me for math advice, just life advice. That's all I'm really qualified to give, and I'm not even qualified for that. 40's not that old. But if you've been working, and certainly working diligently, very hard, and dedicated a bulk of your time to a company in exchange for, well, revenue, right? Some kind of income, and potentially other benefits as well, including insurance, certainly. It's a lot of time. You give your time to a company in exchange for the benefits of having a life outside of that company. Your home, supporting a family, food, entertainment, your leisure activities, hobbies, right? And we make this exchange, which, if it's not something that we enjoy doing, takes that much more of a toll. So I could totally understand for someone who is 41 to tell me that they feel like they're 51. I could totally understand that, especially if they've been doing something that they have not necessarily enjoyed doing. And that's not to say that everybody who has a job is not enjoying the job they do. There's some people who absolutely love the job that they're doing. They absolutely love their career path. No doubt. But 7 years is a pretty long time. And being laid off from COVID cannot be one of those experiences that you could have ever expected to have gone through. So I'm going to relay what I'm thinking by way of my own experience, or through the lens of my own experience. Most people know that for 20 some odd years, from 1996 up until really just a couple years ago, I was driving my own path. I was forging my own way. I had my own business. I had my own company. I had people that I paid, and we did some amazing things. And I had fun doing it. It was stressful, but it was still something I enjoyed doing because it afforded me the opportunity to also do other things that I enjoyed doing. But the industry shifted, and certain things changed in my life, and certain things happened that I could not have predicted. And I had to face a very harsh reality where I needed to make a change because change was happening. And I know, especially because I've lived such a public life, some people think it's because, it's this, and this is why. You really don't know. You don't know the story. You don't know the truth. You'll probably never know the truth as to why I had to make changes or why I did need to change. So I was Yeah, mid 40s, so a few years older than 41, and experiencing changes that I never anticipated. A lot. Insurmountable changes. Not just ones that I could deal with, but things that I just couldn't deal with. And things, by the way, that never played out in public. Never, you never knew. You'll never know. So, I'm not into, armchair quarterbacking. I still probably would have made the same decisions I made, knowing now what I know, or knowing then what I know now. Boy, I'm time traveling here. But still, I was not expecting things to happen the way that they happened, and I wasn't planning for that to happen. Eons ago, I always thought my entire life would have been spent doing the thing that I loved, and that would be talking and sharing and creating and reveling in what technology enables. Being able to share advice, being able to 3D print something and then assemble it here live on camera, showcasing new things that I've purchased, like Rainbow Stormtroopers, right? I enjoy that. I enjoy that process. I enjoy sharing. But I needed to change. And the problem with having no resume and a wealth of experience made that change that much more difficult to enact, because I knew I needed to do something. And I was feeling like whatever I was doing, it wasn't working. But trying to find a traditional job also didn't seem to be working because I didn't know. I have a completely different mindset. As an entrepreneur, we are wired differently in every way, shape, or form. And I had to do a lot of soul searching, and I had to do a lot of reflecting, and I had to do a lot of thinking outside the box, outside the confines of where I normally existed, because admittedly, I enjoyed doing what I do. It wasn't work to me. What I did for 20 years really wasn't work. It was fun. It afforded me opportunities. It gave me a life. I didn't work to live. I lived to work. So when those changes happened, they were radical changes. It took a shift in everything. It took having to reflect upon my skills and how those skills could be used on a team that was substantially larger than just a couple of people. And I looked for every opportunity and was somewhat dejected because I didn't fit a mold. I didn't fit a job title because I never really carried one. And so I've been there. I've worked for longer than 7 years at a job, if you will. If you'll afford me this discussion in terms of my experience, I was effectively not laid off from my quote-unquote job, but in many ways, I was. Because I was no longer finding interest or joy in how I was doing something and couldn't keep up with certain industry changes. So I was left going, well, what do I do with this? What do I do? I can't do nothing. And that may be, the defining point in this response for advice. I knew inherently I couldn't do nothing. And the reason I couldn't do nothing, I had responsibilities. How many responsibilities do you have? How serious do you take your responsibilities? Now me, man, I take my responsibilities incredibly serious. Like, dude, I gotta get it done. This is what's gotta be done. This is gonna be done. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. This is what needs to happen. So when I was faced with those responsibilities, I knew I was going to have to figure out how to make it work. And so I looked for opportunities everywhere because I knew the responsibilities would go unfulfilled if I did not find a viable opportunity. And trust me, it was a challenge. And in many ways, it still remains a challenge, but for different reasons. I probably aged more in 4 years. So when did I start working for Intel? 2 years ago, 2019. When was Jedi born? 2014? If I aged more in 5 years, give or take, than I did my entire life. Because of my responsibilities. And that was my focus. So I didn't make the focus about me. I made the focus about my responsibility. So I understand you not feeling motivated, especially if you're dejected. But what are your responsibilities? Focus on something else. Focus on something external. Focus on what you need to do. And what you need to do isn't necessarily find a job. What you need to do is take care of responsibilities. And many of those responsibilities can only be taken care of if you have a job. Let those responsibilities be your motivator. I'm the one who brings things in. I bring home the vegan bacon, except today because they didn't have any at the grocery store. I was hoping to find for my birthday, but having the ability to take care of responsibilities gives you a reason, gives you motivation. It's having a job isn't motivation. It isn't. It's a means to an end. But when you start thinking about all the responsibilities that you know you are capable of handling, suddenly it's less about you and more about everybody else. Now, if it's just you on your own, it may be a different story, but you still have responsibilities, especially if you're on your own. You still have things that need to be done that can only be done if you've got some kind of income. And I don't know what I would have done had an opportunity not presented itself. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I'm not the one, clearly, who's the first person to say that. I'm not the one you should quote on that. But it's true. Turning over every stone. Thinking through every one of the things that interests you and all of your skills. And thinking beyond a particular job or a set of responsibilities at a job may bring you closer to a career path that might be interesting for you. So if you're not interested in what you've done before, maybe it's time to flip the script. Don't look at, if you're finding no motivation to find a new job, why? Did the old job bore you to tears? Did it not pay enough for you to be able to successfully fulfill your own responsibilities? Was it not fulfilling on a personal basis? Flip the script. You've got a great degree of freedom right now. And I'm saying that, you know, not just to turn what could be perceived as a failure into success, because some people would say, oh, you were laid off, you failed. Well, you didn't, it was out of your control. It's not really a failure. You succeeded in having completed those 7 years and have the ability to succeed over the next 7 years. And it's your choice, right? But now, right now in this period, you've got a great degree of freedom. You do. At least within a certain set of parameters, right? I don't know what responsibilities you're facing or how much you have to take care of. But you've got freedom. You're no longer tethered to that job. You're no longer tethered. So what are you going to do? What do you want to do? And potentially thinking through the things that you might want to do and knowing what you need to do could bring you closer to motivation. But I tell you what, not doing anything isn't going to yield any answers at all. It's not going to do you any good. Like, I would not have found the opportunity that I found by sitting silent and by not constantly working to a solution or towards a solution. And okay, New Future Tech 3D, I'm glad you say this is a great message. I appreciate that because I wasn't sure if any of this was landing because I don't know you. I know you from hanging out on Twitch and interacting in chat and being generally supportive. I know that. But don't make it about you. Think through the things that you don't want to do, and that could bring you closer to the things that you do want to do. And understand you've got a great degree of freedom right now to find something that's going to work better. Even if it pays less than before, if you're happier. Again, you work for a company for 7 years. You gave them your time. That's some people say, well, that's time wasted. Well, you got paid. It's not exactly a waste of time. You came closer to knowing yourself. You were afforded freedoms during that time. Well, now you have a different kind of freedom. Now you have the ability to set yourself for a different level of success and thinking beyond anything that you'd considered before. I'm constantly discovering things about myself that I didn't realize were in me. And I only do that, or I've only discovered these things because I try new things. I'm not afraid to try new things. I'm not afraid to put something out there and to potentially be perceived as someone who has failed. Doesn't bother me at all, because ultimately I've got to live with myself in my own head. I'm the one who's responsible for things that happen here. That's me. That's on my shoulders. That's my focus. My focus isn't me. Some people say, oh, Chris, you're an egomaniac. You're such a narcissist. My focus isn't me. As much as I enjoy doing stuff, hey, you got to live life. You don't want to let life live you. My motivations are very much extrinsic, not intrinsic, right? I'm not thinking I got to have a job because me. I'm like, no. I'm thinking beyond myself. I've got a family. I've got responsibilities. That's my focus. So don't make it about you. Make it about something else. Again, I know there's chat going on. The New Future Tech 3D, and I'm just going with him because he's the one who asked the question originally. I had great success in the past. Was also an entrepreneur with my own biz for 10 years before my last job. Worst part of my last job was not that social coworkers. Software engineer. Oh my God, dude! New Future Tech 3D. You want to talk about freedom? You could, as a software engineer, you could probably move anywhere, live anywhere. You could write your own future. Not necessarily as an entrepreneur, which is an amazing thing, because I get it. I'm an entrepreneur. That's never going to change. I'm always going to be an entrepreneur. I'm always going to be thinking about how to do something differently. I'm always going to be thinking, hey, is there a business model in this? Hey, what's a viable opportunity here? Which is great. And when I've found that I can tap into the same, that same value, that same instinct at a job, it makes that job that much easier because I can tap into myself to make my role that much stronger. But as a software engineer, if only, I gotta tell you, I'm jealous. Green with envy. And the reason why is because a lot of my skills wouldn't translate directly into a job title. That's been my biggest struggle, is trying to shoehorn myself into a job title that kind of fits with the skill sets that I have with my particular needs and expectations. It ain't easy. For me, it hasn't been easy. But as a software engineer, dude, think about your response. Now I know you've got the skills. The jobs are definitely plentiful for that kind of career path. You can write your own future. You have a great degree of freedom, but my recommendation, if you're not finding intrinsic motivation, look outside yourself. Think about all the responsibilities. Even think down the path. Think about you 10 years from now. Where do you want to be 10 years from now? And you're probably going to say, I don't want to be in a job. Fine. You don't have to be in a job 10 years from now. It's your future. But you need to write it today. Software don't write itself. You feel me? It takes time. So I hear you about putting 7 years into a job. But think through the things that you want to do, the things that you want to see, the path that you want ahead of you. Not just you. Think about something that's not you that will help further illuminate that path. So hopefully this mishmash of advice, kind of tripping through it, because, we're just, it's like you and I were sharing a virtual beer right now. Because it's really kind of how it's how I talk. It's how I relate. Not over beer, necessarily. I already had my beer for the evening. I'm good. About a couple hours ago. So it's not like, I've had my beer. I'm good. It's worn off. It wore off before I started providing this advice. Yeah. I'm glad that you said that some of this landed. I hope you find it within yourself to move forward and think beyond just yourself, and that may very well provide enough of a carrot. Aveline French notes that my advice is motivation for you. Really, Aveline? That's amazing, and thank you. Thank you for joining on your morning. Thank you, Sith Little Brit. Sith Mom approved all this advice, and thank you, Fujo, for the virtual applause there. So that's all the advice I had to lay down tonight. If anybody else, wants me to provide advice, I can't promise to have the right answer. I definitely can't guarantee that. I can't promise to be anything but an expert in being myself, in my perspectives, in my experience, and that's it. These aren't tightly packaged, perfect YouTube videos. They're just me talking. So thank you for listening. I hope it helped. I hope I helped in one way, shape, or form with anybody. To anybody who might be listening at any point in the future. Oh, maybe people can email them? Sure. You can tweet me. You can jump into Twitch. You can leave a YouTube comment. You can, I guess you can email chris@pirillo.com. That email address has existed for years. Yeah, you can just ask, and I may be able to answer, depending on life advice. That's it. I gotta get life advice, not any other kind of real advice, right? Just life advice. Things in life, like the things that matter. Life matters, and you matter too. Wow. Thanks again. Your two kids will appreciate it. There you go! Oh, I feel so good about that. I was ready to wrap it up, but man, that's great. That's amazing. Thank you, Sith Lord Brit, for hanging out, too. Thank you. It is my hope to do an advice segment in every live Twitch stream. I don't know if many people out there are going to ask for life advice to be able to do it every night, but everything's worth trying, so figured I'd just throw it out there. You need advice, I'd be happy to share.